Continuing to follow the latest developments overnight in that scary attack on an Antioch movie theater.
Yeah, in the last few hours, we have learned some new information regarding the suspect in this case. News Channel 5's Cuthbert Langley following the story from the very beginning and learning new details overnight. Cuthbert, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Yes, we have been able to gather new information. We know the suspect in all of this is 29 Vincente Montano. We know he came into this movie theater armed with an air pistol, a hatchet, and several canisters of pepper spray. But of course, the big questions investigators are going to be diving into is why all of this happened. To help us kind of learn more about the process from here, I'm joined right now with Buford Toon. He's kind of the securities experts for us here at News Channel 5. You've dealt with some investigations, dealing with explosives, that type of thing. What do you think investigators are going to be working on today?
They're going to start from the top and go all the way to the bottom and side to side inside this location. They're going to be looking at his movements. They're going to try to find out how he got here. They're going to try to secure the building, for one, to make sure there's probably no real explosive devices in there and probably no other weapons that may be laying around.
And you and I were kind of talking. This man has, a history of psychological issues. He also, we know, is homeless. Based on what you've been able to gather so far, do you have any idea about why he may have gone on this rampage?
There's no way to tell, but from all the evidence and everything that's being produced that we know of at the present time, it looks like it was just basically a suicide by cop.
And why do you say that?
Well, you don't take a toy gun to a real gunfight. You don't go to a gunfight and try to hurt people with a hatchet when you know law enforcement who are armed officers are going to be responding.
And officers reported that the movie theater where this happened was filled with chemical spray. The suspect himself had a surgical mask. Do you think this was planned?
Oh, exactly. I mean, you just don't walk in and say that we're just going to randomly do this with everything that he had. I can promise you he's probably been here before. He's been in and out before. He's done several things. He's scoped the place out. He knows where he's going. He knows where the exit doors are. He knows everything about this place.
Buford Toon, thank you for your expertise this morning. So again, right now, the scene here at the Carmike Hickory 8 is still quite active. Investigators are still working to figure out as much information as they can. We'll have much more coming up at 7:30, but for now, we're live in Antioch. Cuthbert Langley, News Channel 5 HD.
Interesting interview, Cuthbert. Thank you. Very good. News of the attack traveled fast. Governor Bill Haslam was at a meeting in Memphis when an aide passed him a note informing him of the events in Antioch. He says the news was difficult to hear, especially following last month's attacks in Chattanooga.
Obviously, we just got over the Chattanooga experience, which was really, really difficult for everybody involved. And every time we say, it can happen anywhere, but it happened here. And then the other thing you say is, well, what can we do to stop it?
And Nashville Mayor Carl Dean sent us this statement saying, quote, "We have one of the best police forces in the nation, and it showed this afternoon in the way our officers lived up to their very thorough training. I'm relieved that no one else was killed. And again, I thank the police for that." Be sure to stay with News Channel 5 for continuing coverage of the movie theater attack. You can find the latest updates on our website, Facebook, and Twitter throughout the day today.
And as Metro officers responded to that theater shooting in Antioch, officers in Rutherford County were called to a possible bomb threat and active shooter they thought at Walmart. A story you're seeing first on 5. A bomb threat came into the Walmart on Rutherford Boulevard late yesterday afternoon, and then there were reports of an active shooter. Murfreesboro police responded. The store staff started asking customers to leave. They were closing for a bomb sweep, and that's when one customer, who apparently did not want to leave, pulled a gun and pointed it at an employee. No shots were ever fired. Police immediately took that suspect into custody, charging him with aggravated assault. We're told that bomb threat, by the way, was bogus. We do have some breaking news we've been watching from overnight. A man shot and killed in North Nashville. Police say the victim was found shot in the head at a Hermosa Street home just before midnight. The victim's name not yet given out. No suspects have been identified. You know anything about this? Call Crime Stopper 615-74-CRIME.
Hundreds are still in the dark this morning after a bad car crash overnight. We're told a car slammed into a power pole on Licton Pike in Whites Creek around 2 this morning. No one was hurt, but the lights went out. About 600 people and 200 are still without power in Whites Creek right now. Another 500 homes temporarily lost power in the Old Hickory area.
All right, it's the big day happening today, Election Day. So who's going to be the next mayor of Nashville? The polls just opened 8 minutes ago. News Channel 5's Matthew Torres is live for us at Glencliff High School, one of the voting sites. And you already had people there behind you a little earlier before the doors even opened.
Yeah, So early, 30 minutes before, people were already out here. So it just shows that both young and old are already here. So we're actually just behind the school instead of the front. Just one out of 100. With me is Nancy.
160 polling locations.
That's a lot. So really, there's no excuse for people not to come out and vote.
Right. They need to go and look at their voter card or go online to the poll finder and make sure they know where they're voting, because they need to vote at their assigned precinct. And they need to bring a photo ID, and they should take a look at that sample ballot before they come, because it's a long ballot. They'll be asked to vote for mayor, vice mayor, 5 at large.
Long list.
Long list.
We were talking earlier, this year specifically, it's kind of an important year.
It is a very important year. I mean, this election probably means more to Nashvillians than a presidential election as far as how it affects their day-to-day lives.
And why is that?
Well, because we'll be selecting a new mayor, a new vice mayor, 5 at-large council members, as well as almost half of the rest of the council, and as well as 3 amendments on the ballot.
It's almost like a whole new facelift, really.
Yep.
And as you can see, we have people out here already just trickling their way in. So slowly but surely, the gym behind me here at Glen Cliff is filling up with people. So I think good news, despite the rain that we saw earlier.
That's right. Rain or shine, will be open 7 to 7 today.
All right, you heard that. So reporting live from Glen Cliff High School, I'm Matthew Torres, News Channel 5 HD.
Matthew, thanks. Remember, our special election coverage begins as soon as the polls shut down tonight. Tune in right here on the Plus starting at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, for a complete wrap-up of all of the winners, you can watch that on News Channel 5 at 10 o'clock.